Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's that time for us to take a look at our papers and, of course, do some brief analysis of the headlines of some of these dailies. To help us do that, we have a once upon a time, well, I say one time now, watch chairman, right? Another person than Comrade Grace Ijoma Ume. Hope I got that correctly.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah,
right. Good morning, Vias.
It's good to have you.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join us this morning on this segment. All right, quickly, let's take a look at some of the headlines making rounds in some of our dailies. Daily Sun. We have this screamer. We will stand with Fubara till end. Vow PDP governors. I know, I mean, that is like, a screamer on the Daily Sun. And yesterday we have like a counter, protest also in Rivers saying, yes, by the women, we are in support of the sole administrator. That is on one hand. Before that point yesterday, women also in Rivers State along Port Harcourt Road, they came out, they made us in protest saying we don't want a sole administrator. Thank God that we're a woman, one-time chair of now what is really going on.
Well, it's politics, Wilson. Whenever politics is at play, all kinds of interests come to play too. And in Rivers State, we are seeing the height of it. Even yesterday, as we were looking at what was happening in Rivers State, I think some people went out. They said they had the order of the sole administrator to go and start removing all the posters that had a SIM on them. Wow. And then they removed all the SIM cards.
All the SIM cards. And that's,
they went round. So some persons now called me and said, you were on ITV the other day and you were defending this guy. I said, I wasn't defending him. I was talking about something has been done. What is the next step moving forward? So this guy has been appointed a sole administrator. You wouldn't want him to just sit down, fold his hands, or every weekend he'll be throwing parties and then siphoning monies to foreign countries. So he had to do what he had to do. Now, removing of posters yesterday, I wouldn't say, it was alleged that he was the one that gave the instructions. So nobody would say, Ibas actually did that. So a whole lot of politics has come to play. And then the women had to take sides too, because people were saying, women were so quiet. So they had to divide them. They had to divide them.
Right now we have factional women,
we have factional women
fighting for same and
in fact, the market women always come prominent whenever issues of politics come to play. You see them, they're activists, great activists.
Women.
So people want to divide them and see how they could mobilize their sentiments around women. Around family institutions and all that.
All right.
And that's what is happening.
Okay, now let's turn our attention to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And the big story, a sad one, regarding Plateau Benue killings, says Governor Alia threatens Tinubu, gives Muftuang marching orders. Subwriter says, family of 8 wiped out, armed headers kill 52 in fresh Sunday night attack. Victims given mass burial. Government expresses displeasure. Troops rescue 16 kidnapped victims. Christian leaders plan protest over killings. I can't guarantee visitors to Benue without my knowledge. That's the governor speaking there, Governor Alia. I'm a target of Benue governor's threat. Peter Albi also responding to that ruling, I would say. Now, other interesting stories on page 20. Electricity. Genco's warn of imminent shutdown over 4 trillion naira debts. Federal government sets 14 months completion deadline for 777 billion naira Abuja Kaduna Zaria Road on page 9. And finally on page 10, 2027, why our party won't join any coalition measure. On page 10, you get details of that with the PDP governor speaking. But I'd love you to react to the Plateau Benue killings. It's been a conversation on the headlines recently. What really is going on?
Now, killings, whether they are, the one done by armed herdsmen or insurgents. Let's use the word insurgents. They've been a recurring decimal over time. You know, these things happen from the northeast, and it's going even in the south here. It's happening everywhere. These killings, sometimes they say it's politically motivated. That is still allegedly, because you can't even put a finger on the issues that they are agitating for. You just see interest around the 2027. You see interest around the land ownership. You see interest around farm ownership. And you see interest around the ethnic inclinations, what I call clannish interest. You know, you see all kinds of interest coming up. And some people are saying it's all about 2027. I said, what has 2027 got to do with, you know, people just waking up and moving into households and killing people? You know, all this borders on the will, the political will to take decision. We are just hoping that at the federal level, the man at the helms of affair, or the people at the helms of affair, the people in the corridors of power, we have the political will to take a decision to clamp down on all these kind of killings that are becoming, like, giving us a dent in the Committee of Nations.
All right, let's take a look at the next paper. What do we have next? Let's jump into the Nation newspaper. And of course, we have this screamer, 2027. PDP governors disown Atiku on coalition merger. And we have NBA, 300 million naira collected from rivers on conditional gift. Averting judgment misinterpretation, how to attain a $1 trillion US economy by the central bank. NLC, a PAPER flex muscle over LP. And of course, let's dive into the screamer on the 2027 Ijoma, where PDP governors disown Atiku on coalition and merger. Does it not mean that there's trouble in paradise, or the trouble has always been there in paradise?
There's always trouble in paradise. And some persons thought that Atiku's ambition had died down. That man is not giving up. That man is not giving up. He has a will spirit.
But he said he's willing to give his ambition.
To lead this country, and he doesn't want to end up being just a vice that we knew. He wants to lead this nation as the number one. And he's determined that he's doing all that he wants to do and all that he has the capacity to do to turn things around. And that also borders down on causing confusions here and there. You know, so when you hit the ship, you know, the shepherd takes a run to the other direction, and the ship scatters. So that is the kind of a divisive mentality.
But some are saying that the minister of the FCT seems to be the trouble, or seems to be that particular clog on the wheels of progress of the PDP. And you're saying it's Atiku.
Wike is there. Wike is very prominent. You know, he's very prominent. He's everywhere. That is why you cannot say Wike belongs to APC, Wike belongs to PDP. He belongs to all the parties, and he calls the shots. He's smoking from all the cannon ends. So that is Wike for you. But then the ambition of a man, the man Atiku, that is the kind of ambition I have never seen in my life.
Wow.
I've never seen a man so ambitious, like, I want to get this and I must get it. And he's moving. When you think age and illness are trying to weigh him down, the man springs up from another front and he moves.
Buhari did the same and eventually got it. One can just say that Atiku is a man of great faith.
Yes, yes. And Atiku is a likable person, somebody that when he speaks, you listen to him, you like him, but then, you know, some people are thinking that it is high time that these elderly people, you know, give way for the youth to take over. And then they are not even trying to give way at all. Okay. Atiku's ambition remains, and he's determined to get it.
Right.
We will be seeing a whole lot of this kind of skimmings as 2027 unfolds.
Okay.
Of course. Now let's turn our attention over to the Daily Times newspaper this morning. And the major story here says Nigeria targets top 80 on Global Human Capital Index by 2030. That's the federal government speaking there. On page 16, 2027 elections may be a huge joke. If Edo tribunal ruling is not reversed, Amadi has that to say. Well, moving over to page 11. VC Federal Vasti Oye Ekiti suspended over sexual harassment allegations. On page 11, you get details of that. And other interesting stories this morning on the Daily Times newspaper. I chose APC for my people. AMAC chairman breaks silence on defection. On page 16, details on that. And on page 2, we are not of Atiku, El-Rufai, Obi's coalition. That's the PDP governor speaking there. And finally, this morning on the Daily Times newspaper, military rescues 16 kidnapped passengers in Plateau. On page 5, you get details of that. Which of the stories would you want to react to? I mean, the major story here talks about Nigeria targets top 80 on Global Human Capital Index.
The HCI, that's the Human Capital Index, a whole lot is involved in it.
Yeah.
And coming from Global 40 to hit 80, I think that is high ambition, if you ask me.
Quite high.
Quite high. You know, a whole lot will be involved because the HCI also talks about the poverty, the unemployment rate and all that put together. The number of deaths, maternal deaths, you know, so many things are involved. And Nigeria is still far behind in terms of meeting the target. The World Health Organization talks about health, the health of women, the health of newborns, and so many other things. So the Human Capital Index talks about the stability that nations have attained in terms of reaching that global target. So Nigeria, just like I said before, the willpower to take decisions in strategic places would help if we must get to that target.
All right.
Yes.
80. Top 80. That's quite high. Well, let's move to the next paper. Let's see what we have in store there. Daily Independent. On the Daily Independent, we have, these screamers. 54 killed, many injured in fresh attack on Plateau community. And 2027 election, PDP governors rule out joining any coalition. And if we move on to the Daily Independent, you have some confirmed relocation. Rivers administrator demand 300 million naira refund from NBA. And NBA say 300 million naira gifts, not a hosting payment. Rivers magistrate resigns over emergency rule appointment of sole administrator. UBA chief hinges Nigeria's $1 trillion US economy target on double digits GDP. Now let's focus on this squabble between the sole administrator of Rivers State and the NBA over the 300 million naira. Some call it a gift. The man said, no, since you are lambasting, thrashing, talking about, please, the money given to you, return it to Rivers State. And I say, no, it's a gift. What do you have to say about that?
It's just like what we were saying before we came on air about Shama and all that. In journalism, we have what is called brown envelope, which the union is trying to tackle. Some people are saying it's no longer brown, it's now white. I said, whatever name you call it, Shama is Shama. So this one now, the government and the NBA is a professional group. You know, they depend on goodwill of the people, goodwill of well-meaning people, and you are now telling them that something that was given to them is not a gift. I don't know how they are going to sort that out, but I know that that will also affect leadership in a state that is already torn.
But will you blame the sole administrator? Will you blame him?
That is why people are saying military. Military, they still get their issues. Because in a civilian administration, you know, people will not be looking at what a professional body gets, you know, to do what they have to do. So, but now they have to sit down and resolve and agree between government and the union or the association or the organization, NBA. It's a professional body, and when you are thinking that you are already leading in a state where there is squabbles, political squabbles, and then you are also putting eyes into something that was given to an organization like the NBA.
Well, everybody should come and give account. That's what the organization is saying. Please return the money. Rivers needs it. They need it more than you think they do. But someone is saying that it's not connected with the political situation in Rivers. Tit for tat.
Yes.
Quite interesting.
It's
all right.
Moving over to the Guardian newspaper this morning, and the big story here on the Guardian focuses on electricity, as it says Genco's threatened shutdown over 4 trillion naira debt as Band A customers protest. On page 6, details on that story. NBA reverse trade words over conference, a 300 million naira refund. On page 29, you see that. And on page 30, JAM warns new upgraded institutions against illegal admissions. Well, still on the front page of the Guardian this morning, on page 6, PDP Gov's demand review of security strategies as Plateau death toll climbed to 52. Nigeria loses $2 billion yearly to medical tourism, says Pate on page 7. And on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper, PDP governors shun coalition to oust Tinubu. And on page 5, Global Rights Ezekwesili urged federal government to rescue Chibok girls and terrorism. I think that's the major story this morning on the Guardian. You want to react to any?
Yes, I want to react to the security challenges. To get this nation right, the issue of security has to be tackled head on. The issue of security has to be tackled head on. I don't know. I think the issue of insecurity that is ravaging the nation has to be tackled head on, and the government has to, just sit back and have the political will to tackle insecurity. It's ravaging everywhere. It started in the northeast, and we thought this is a regional thing, but it has. It has gone deep into every facet of the nation, every sector, every region is feeling it. You saw what happened the other day. This Plateau thing now is going to be whipping up a whole lot of fear all over again in the minds of people. Now, people no longer travel by road. If you can't afford to travel by air, you are so scared.
How many persons
How many people can
air?
afford to travel by air? 200, 300,000 to pay for your ticket to travel from one state to another, and even if it's economy class that you're traveling, it's not cheap. So, and people are so scared. The fear, like I always use the word, is palpable. That people are afraid to attend conferences. In the media right now, many of us have so many invites to attend conferences. We cannot attend if the organization has not put in that air travel clause in your invite. And people are so scared all over. So I think insecurity is one of the things they should be targeting to tackle. The concentration on 2027 is becoming so annoying because it started too early for me. I'm not a politician, but I feel that they are leaving the more prominent issues and everybody is facing 2027 as if that is all the nation is all about. The security of lives, property of citizens is a paramount responsibility of government, but they are not even talking about it. There should be a conference or referendum on security.
Are you foreseeing a state of emergency on security in the country?
Somebody has called a state of emergency in a state where there is no emergency, and then where there is emergency is not even talking about anything.
Oh, boy, you cannot say in a state where there's no emergency. I mean, the nation's source of livelihood was tampered with. So that was a reason, one of the reasons. I said, look, for that reason, please hold on. Ibas, please step in. So, anyway.
Then health tourism too. Health tourism is one of the places.
Yeah.
Look at the figure that is being banded there. Health tourism is another issue. We have health institutions that are not working.
Right.
They are all not working. You can't even depend. Somebody was crying the other day. he was asked to bring 500,000, and then eventually he lost his wife. It may be a private hospital, but then if there is a policy direction targeted at the right places, even private institutions will sit up. Private health institutions will sit up.
All right,
yes.
Let's move over to the Tribune. On the Tribune, we have these headlines. 51 fear killed in Fresh Plateau attack. PDP governor says no to coalition dump Anyanwu Ude Okoye. Solar, Nigeria spends 200 billion naira on importation of panels, says Rare MD, and Nigeria must pursue 10% GDP growth to achieve the $1 trillion US economy by 2030. This by GMD UBA. Some of the, the headlines there, and I believe that you've reacted to some of this in course of going through all that papers. All right. Let's move to the next paper.
Right. The Daily Trust is up next, and of course, Plateau situation is topping the charts. Bloodletting continues in Plateau. Subwriter says 49 killed in fresh attack. Really a sad situation. On page 6 and 7, PDP governors meet, reject coalition. Subwriter says propose NEC for May 27, convention August 28th. How rejection could affect Atiku, Professor Kadi has that to say. And on the Rivers Emergency Rule, courts order service on Tinubu, Ibas, and Fubara. You get details of that story on page 22 this morning. And on page 17, gunmen abducts worshippers on Olokoja Mountain. 4 trillion naira debt. A blackout looms as Gencos threaten shut down. I think those all for Daily Trust this morning.
All right, now, finally for the papers, let's take a look at the Business Day. All right, for the Business Day newspaper, we have these headlines. POS wars, banks battle fintech for market shares, and declining oil output to hit Nigerians' dollars earning. And we have all the headlines there, making a run, informing impactful decisions since July 2021, talking about the papers. And Genco's threatened shutdown over 4 trillion naira debt, and how banks can accelerate Nigerians' $1 trillion GDP target. Quite interesting. Now, Genco's threatening to shut down over 4 trillion naira debt. Ijaba, what do you feel about that?
What we're suffering in Nigeria is between power and power now.
Power and power?
Yes, between power and power. The power at the helm of affairs, the power in terms of lack of electricity, and those two, they are always there, staring us starkly in the face. Just like politics and insecurity and medical tourism and all that, the issue of electricity in Nigeria is something that I don't know. When we were children, we used to shout, "Up NEPA!" In a few minutes, when light goes off, light comes back again. But this time around, Nigerians are giving themselves electricity. They are buying, I think there was one headline on solar panels. Solar panels and all that. People are buying solar in our streets. Almost everybody has solar there. We have generating sets. If your gen stops, if one generator stops and or gets bad, you buy another one. You keep acquiring because you can't stay without electricity. And now we are talking about debt servicing. The issue of that accumulated debt alone.
4 trillion there.
4 trillion. You
the
can
power
see
sector.
What is Nigeria's budget in a year?
Some will say we don't even see this power. We don't even have this power.
There's no power anywhere. There's no
so
power.
How come the debt?
What we have is people at the helm of affairs controlling power without using power. Do you understand?
I like that. Controlling power without using power.
Adequately to service the nation. They are not meeting our responsibilities. We are a government of our own. Government of our own. We are not looking at government of the people, for the people, by the people. That in fact, we are living it on our own. We are governing ourselves. We are providing everything for ourselves. Government has this lackadaisical attitude to governance, and it's high time we know what to do.
All right.
Action should be taken. I advocate for actions to be taken.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Ijoma, for your wonderful analysis. Some of the headlines making the rounds in our dailies. I believe that you've learned one or two things from this particular segment. Remember, readers today will definitely become leaders of tomorrow. Try as much as you can to inculcate the reading culture. We'll